It is time for people to get vaccinated.
For federal employees, even employees of federally regulated industries, that could become an order.
I have asked the clerk of the Privy Council, who is responsible for the federal public service, to look at mandatory vaccinations.
In total, such a policy would cover hundreds of thousands of workers, from tax collectors to soldiers and police, to those who work in banks, airlines, railways, and communications.
People are dying and will die who don't have to die.
This comes a week after the U.S. imposed a similar measure of its own on its civil service, while private companies from Facebook to Disney and Walmart have already mandated vaccines.
The idea is obviously to get as many people as vaccinated and for the respective federal governments to put their money where their mouths are.
But public health officials here warn federal departments and the Treasury Board have much to consider.
I think everything is being reviewed and examined right now.
Employment experts warn there could be confusion, even pushback.
Then that is going to create what I would say is a patchwork system, because you have the provinces who are not indicating, in some cases explicitly indicating, that they're not going to be doing this. And you have the federal government saying that they are intending to do this.
There are many people involved in discussions on all this. One public sector union, the Christian Labour Union of Canada, that represents transportation workers, says it's opposed to mandatory vaccinations due to workers' moral objections. The Public Service Alliance of Canada says it is watching closely and expects government to consult them. Meanwhile, employers such as banks, Air Canada, WestJet, and Via Rail say they've been strongly encouraging their staff to get vaccinated. Rafi Boudjikanian, CBC News, Ottawa.
Let's bring in Dr. Isaac Bogosh, a member of Ontario's Vaccine Distribution Task Force and an infectious diseases specialist in Toronto. So, Dr. Bogosh, we've seen two approaches to try to increase the number of people getting vaccinated. Let's start with Quebec's. Do you think that's the right way to go?
It'll certainly promote vaccination, and many people who are on the fence will ultimately get vaccinated because of that. For example, in France, when they mentioned this, the next day, 1 million people signed up for vaccination. You can't lock down anymore. No one's going to accept lockdowns. You can't overwhelm your healthcare system. And if cases are rising and hospitalizations are going up, and you need to do something to keep the economy going and keep people to enable people to do what they want to do, then this is a system that we have to be open-minded to.
And what about employers requiring their workers to get vaccinated?
Yeah, it's interesting because we're seeing more and more of that as well. In fact, many large organizations in the United States have done that. We're seeing large airlines, we're seeing Microsoft, Google, Facebook do this. We're seeing many campuses do this. We're also seeing large healthcare systems do this as well. Kaiser Permanente employs 250,000 people, and they're mandating vaccinations in them. So this is not new, and I think we're going to see more and more of this happen. You've got to create a safe work environment for your employees, and this is one way of doing it.
15 seconds left. It's going to be contentious.
Absolutely, it will. It's that tug of war between individual rights and freedoms, and creating, public health and public safety.
All right, Dr. Bogosh, thank you.
My pleasure.